So we have cognitive and perceptive elements, and we have scientific inputs from physics, both classical as well as current. And occasionally we will also have the pillar of mathematical accuracy towards seeing a fuller, bigger picture of reality. And at the face of it, it is not absolutely apparent what it is, the correct understanding of which is quintessential that can lead us to the right path. An aspect, so to say, when accurately resolved, has a potential to set it straight, the entire puzzle. The misplacement of the very same scrambles the landscape. Misaligns scientific observations. Scientific theories and observations proven over and over misfit with each other, scrambling flares instead of flawless aligning, which is a must because empirical observations do not delude. But even more importantly, from my perspective, once we have two disparate empirical observations that misfit with each other, and we march on in that very scrambled premise to further understand a fuller and a bigger picture of reality, the picture becomes even more blurry. And that isn't so surprising. So what it is, that one thing, a linchpin, so to say, when correctly pinned, can unscramble the picture of reality into something that makes sense to us, assimilates disparate empirical observations, brings us a resolved picture. Most succinctly put, it is a stance of observer. Most comprehensively put, it is a stance of observer. It is the stance of observer. Obviously, I will have a lot to say on the subject, as flurry of thoughts surely never had, stemming from scientific reasoning and deduction. The only thing I would say right now is that my reasoning, or our reasoning in this channel vis-a-vis stance of observer, is different from what that has been alluded to in scientific framework or otherwise. In this channel, we will look into solid indicators from the sciences to see the picture of reality. But we will not ignore the angle of what we see, perceive, and cognize. And my hope is that just by doing so, we will have corrected the perspective in scientific views as well. that we will be able to envision a landscape in which disparate empirical observations do not contradict but complement each other. For instance, Einstein's theories of special and general relativity, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, Schrodinger's wave mechanics. They are all rock-solid indicators of how universe works and continues. But in our understanding, when we try to see a structure of one, say gravity, that is general relativity, we cannot envision the rendering of another, say quantum probabilities, on the same footing. Or we can't see them both in the same sketch. Let us touch base. If you are here watching this, you know the framework of quantum mechanics. QM from now on. Particle and wave both are equally part of the reality. Particle, when observed, is smeared across, wave when not. This is a problem right away in the dialect of physics. The observer-driven unfolding of physical manifestation. The observer-driven unfolding of reality. Indeed, this uncanny reality has puzzled Einstein as much as forebearers of QM as well as the investigators to this day. This can be seen as perplexity of order 1. Since QM takes on scenario of wave collapse upon observation, it clearly brings up wave collapse of another probability. And this wave collapse means that this set of observer and the observed, say observer 2 and the observed 2, are disconnected from the previous one. They are two parallel spacetimes. The scenario has been explored by theoreticians in a well-known framework of multi-worlds hypothesis laid out by Hugh Everett toward rationalizing what QM seems to be saying. And as you would note that there isn't just two or many space-time splits, there would be infinite ones in perpetuity. Yet another problem even less surmountable than the previous one. The problem is too complex to perceive as rational or realistic. But if you do not want to take into account what it feels to us, to our rational and realistic mind, and only want to see it based on scientific logic and empirical grounds, it is a loud call to thermodynamic catastrophe, an utter waste of everything fathomable or known, even just by scientific window. This can be seen as perplexity of order 2. And if this isn't mind-bending already, you would not be surprised to this add-on, theory of general relativity. Crisp, beautiful structuring of gravity shown by Einstein. He told us gravity is curvature of space-time. Light bends through matter, dilating the time itself. The perceived acceleration due to gravity is, in fact, a state of free fall in the curved space-time. The smooth continual curvature imparted by matter. In this very landscape, now imagine probability-based roots. Not much to imagine, cannot imagine. Now imagine all probability realized based fractured roots. This is contextual overload. Order 1. Not possible. This can be seen as perplexity of order 3. In the seeding matrix of quantum realm, the materialization is probability based in the least and all probability realized in continual infinite splits at the most. In here, it is not possible to generalize the smooth continuity of general relativity in and of its own formulation. And now let's move to introduce perplexity infinite. It strikes when in the same game we seek to see how we ourselves fit and continue. The common ground is to dive right out into figuring out the emergence of consciousness. The common thinking is that once we have known how consciousness emerged, the mystery is solved of how we came to be in alignment with the universe. The observer-driven unfolding, however, lurks as a separate issue. The observer-driven unfolding demands resolution of its own because it calls for an all-encompassing makeup, covering the time in its entirety, extending from past into the future. It demands an explanation similar to our theorizing the sudden expansion of universe in its earlier epochs, laid out by Alan Guth, to fit how universe appears to us today. Although both the precepts, the sudden expansion of the universe as well as the emergence of consciousness, offers to resolve the continuum of the universe with us in it as we know it, as have been indicated earlier, leaves us with loose strings that we do not know where to tie them to. Now combine the emergence of consciousness and observer-driven unfolding with the general relativistic framework of QM. This is contextual overload, order 2. Enigma abound. This can be seen as perplexity of order infinite. Clustered perplexity is a loud call to a single resolution. Why? Because all these perplexities point to having a correct vantage point in understanding reality, vis-a-vis avoiding mathematical and contextual infinities, avoiding thermodynamic catastrophe.